All right, I call this session to order. Would anyone like to say the Pledge of Allegiance, or will I have to say it for the first time ever?
Can I say it?
All right, I guess I get to say it today. Um, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so we will now move on to the roll. And since the secretary is at work, I will go ahead and call it. Senator Sterling,
Present.
Senator Webby,
Present.
Senator Walsh is present, Senator Woodland.
Present.
All right, Senator Novak. Uh, he said it in the chat. Okay, he's present. Senator Reed. Senator Reed is absent. So, with 5 present and only 8 members, we do have a quorum. So, we will now move on to the presentation of the agenda, and then we'll vote to adopt the agenda. Item number 1 is S1136, the Employment Regulations Act of 2017.
To proceed.
Item number 2, S1137, the National Security Act of 2017. Item number 3, S1138, the First Group Ranking Act of 2017. Item number 4, HR 1105, the Clarified Personation Act of 2017. Item number 5, HR 1106, Crime Time Limit Act of 2017. Item number 6, HR 1108, the Congressional Election Voting Act of 2017. Item number 7, N1149, the nomination of James Reinhart for the United States Attorney. And item number 8, N1150, the nomination of Dr. Velian for Director of Citizenship and Immigration Services. So with that, we will go ahead and vote on the adoption of the agenda, and I will call the roll. Senator Sterling.
Aye.
Senator Webby.
Aye.
Senator Walsh votes aye. Senator Woodland.
Aye.
Senator Novak. And Senator Novak votes aye. With that, the agenda is agreed to. And we will now move on to opening remarks. And the floor is open.
I request.
All right, Senator Sterling, you have the floor for opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would first like to congratulate Secretary Kane on becoming Secretary of State. He is an amazing Secretary of State. However, the Senate has lost a great member with his departure. He can point out flaws in bills that no one even considered. He was never afraid to point out the flaws, no matter who authored or sponsored the bill. Secretary Kane improved the Senate and its members during his tenure in the Senate. Therefore, I thank him for his service in the Senate. Secondly, I'd like to congratulate Speaker Hamilton on becoming Speaker of the House. He has worked across aisles to get things done, and we need that in our Speaker of the House. Thirdly, I'd like to thank former Deputy Secretary of State Mark Walker for his service in the State Department. He was a great Deputy Secretary, and I look forward to seeing him in leadership again in the future. Additionally, I thank current Deputy Secretary of State Matthew Charleston on being a great Secretary of State, and I congratulate him on becoming it. He was a great House Majority Leader, a great ambassador, and has showed how great he is in the Deputy Secretary of State's office. Finally, thank you, my fellow senators. Thank you, Mr. President, for holding tonight's session. I yield.
All right, does anyone else request the floor? All right. Just to note to everyone watching, most people can't speak today. It's going to be kind of relatively a dull session. Usually, everybody's speaking, but I don't know what's going on today, but, things happen. Anyways, we will move on to voting on the items in debate. So the first item on the agenda that we will be discussing is S1136, the Employment Regulations Act of 2017. And the floor is open for any kind of discussion or debate. All right. There is no request to take the floor on this item, so we will now proceed to a vote. And on the first item, Senator Sterling, how do you vote?
Aye.
Senator Webby.
Aye.
Senator Walsh votes aye. Senator Woodland.
Aye.
All right, Senator Novak. Senator Novak votes aye. And with that, with 5 in favor and none opposed, the bill passes. Next on the agenda is S1137, the National Security Act of 2017. The floor is open for discussion. With no discussion, we will proceed to a vote. Senator Sterling. Senator Sterling.
Aye.
Senator Webby.
Aye.
And Senator Walsh votes aye. Senator Woodland.
Aye.
Senator Novak. Senator Novak votes aye. With 5 in favor and none opposed, the bill passes. Next on the agenda is the first Group Ranking Act of 2017, S1138. For the time being, I would like to pass the chair on to Senator Webby and request the floor.
You have the floor, Mr. Walsh.
I want to be pretty brief on this bill. It's because I just added this one today, so I'm sure you haven't really had a chance to read it. I was talking to James the other day, and I was telling him to change all these ranks, and he told me it would be a fantastic idea if Congress would just pass a law establishing what the ranks are in our group. There we go. Yeah, this bill essentially establishes what the ranks will be in our group, and Section 3 establishes what the bills will be called in the future if there are any revisions that need to be made to the group ranks. They'll just go first, second, third, fourth, fifth, depending on how many we passed. So I yield.
All right, class.
The chair recognizes Mr. Sterling.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would Senator Walsh pose for a question?
Sure.
Thank you. When it says congressional leadership, does that what leadership does that include? Majority leaders, minority leaders too?
That would include the Speaker of the House and the President pro tempore. And the reason, and I thank you for bringing that up, because I actually wanted to clarify the reason I wanted this rank is so that the people that are presiding over these sessions have the opportunity. Because the reason that my rank was taken away, because James is no longer Chief Justice and he had to make a Chief Justice rank. So I thought it would be fair if we could make just get rid of Speaker of the House rank and PPT rank and just merge it into one congressional leadership, so that both me and the Speaker can shout for sessions and stuff like that. So yeah, that's it would just be me and the Speaker.
So no other leadership positions.
I mean,
Would Speaker pro tempore be included?
The thing is that this bill doesn't really set out who can inhabit those ranks, so I'm sure we can interpret it to be majority leader if we need it to be, but I don't see us, or Speaker pro temp if we need to, but I don't see us having to do that. But if we need to, we can do that in the future. Yeah.
Would you be open to amendment clarifying which positions are in that rank?
So adding an amendment to the bill to clarify what goes into the congressional leadership rank.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Because people might assume that means like all the leadership positions.
Yeah.
Do I hear a second to the amendment?
I second.
Are we gonna? All right.
I'll go ahead and amend.
We can go ahead and conduct a vote. Senator Sterling.
Aye.
Senator Novak. Senator Novak votes aye. Senator Woodland.
Aye.
Senator Walsh.
Aye.
And Senator Webster votes in favor. The amendment to the bill passes.
All right.
I have a quick question again.
So do you want me to go ahead? Do you want me to word it like this? The following roles.
Yeah.
will be
I have another.
in the congressional leadership rank.
Shouldn't we all? So like, should we also add like I think that we should all add all the leadership positions so that people that are looking outside the group are not misinterpreted. Because I remember 1 second. Back. I remember when I was looking at quite a while ago. I was looking at another USA, and I was a bit confused because they didn't include all leadership roles, and considering that some leaders, like for example, Majority Leader Webster might want to hold a Democrat Leader Caucus thing, and he could shout that so everyone knows about it. So, do you think it would be? You would be open to adding all leadership roles so people don't misinterpret it as seeing that it's because it says leadership. Most people will be under the impression that it means leadership.
Honestly, I would just. I don't see a need to add the majority leader of both sides. Maybe the speaker pro tem, but since they really don't preside over sessions that often, I wouldn't really see a need for us to have to add them as well.
Then shouldn't we?
They wouldn't have to shout.
Oh, sorry. Continue.
Yeah, I was just going to say they wouldn't really have a need to be in the rank because the rank was established so that we can shout whenever we're having sessions and stuff like that.
But then shouldn't we change the title to like congressional presiding officers because people might understand that because considering that it does say leadership.
If we're worried about people being misunderstood, then we can just clarify it in this bill.
I think that we should but in my opinion, I think that we should include all leadership positions because it says leadership. Do you see where I'm coming from, Senator Walsh?
To an extent, yes.
Okay. So would you?
But I just don't see congressional presiding officer as being catchy as congressional leadership. It's just
I see. That's why I think that we should include all ranks. For example, the speaker might ask the House Majority Leader to say when the session could be. I remember I was looking at it earlier, and when Speaker Colton was Speaker of the House, he one time had Majority Leader now Jones in the House thing announce a session, and that she could have just put it in the shout so more people knew about it.
Well, I mean, anyone in the Senate can. I can let anyone in the Senate preside. I mean, Webby's presiding right now. But I mean,
But I think that would be just to give them the ability because, and plus too, I think that we want to stay true to the rank, and most USAs traditionally put majority or minority or speaker pro tempore of both chambers in there because it is leadership, and I think that they can also shout session times if the speaker is busy.
I just
I think that, and I think it would be we could just easily amend it. It would be simple to do this because I've seen in cases in the past, like I said before, where it could have been useful. I think that we could put that in the future.
I just don't know if I can agree to that because we've had the only reason I made this rank is because of the dispute between the speaker and the PPT rank. Because we've had both speakers and PPTs have a rank in the group, and the only reason I'm making this rank is because of the dispute between the two, not because majority leaders and all this other good stuff can join the rank. So I mean, I honestly I think we just need to keep it as Speaker of the House and PPT.
Well, do you think? What I'm saying is that to stay true to it, and it wouldn't waste any time in a way to speak. And I think that would be useful for future. I mean, for like our current speaker, future speakers, even future, or even yourself when you don't realize it, where you could have for example, majority or Webby, or a speaker could have the majority or even the minority or shout the times if they're busy, because in the past it could have been useful. As examples where they tried but they couldn't. So I think that there's really no cons to it. What I'm seeing is that there's a couple pros, but there's no really major cons besides the fact that, I don't really see any cons besides that the purpose of.
Well, the cons are that it's not necessary because by your logic, any member of Congress can preside over a session, and so does that mean that every member of Congress should have the ability to shout? Do you think that we should put in this bill simply to just give all members of Congress the ability to shout, despite what rank they're in?
What I'm saying is that in the past, it would have been useful. Like Colton had Cam one time in the house try to do that and try to do it in the U.S. But U.S. did that, but that didn't work. We get seen past examples and even future examples where it can be useful. And I don't. And the major what you're saying is that well we don't need it, but there's examples in the past where it could have been used and where it could have benefited. And I think that we can implement that and have it improve Congress in a way, and other USAs do that, and this could make it more not realistic but it says leadership. So in the case of having it be more what it says it is, and also having it useful for presiding officers to make their easier in scheduling sessions easier, we could do that like in the past.
Well, I'm not concerned about the terminology or the potential that a majority leader or something is given the ability to preside over session, because usually when
they don't
when me or Grant when we schedule sessions, if either of us cannot attend them, we just don't have the session. We don't give that ability to majority leaders, so I don't think it would be beneficial. I think we're
I see what you're saying. But I'm saying is that they can do it. Not like do it for, because I've seen examples with the speaker. Ask like when he's busy and it's like, oh yeah, I want to schedule a session this, but I can't get on Roblox. Can you quickly schedule it, but to not miss the 24-hour deadline?
That's a very very extraneous circumstance that I don't see happening.
But like for example, the amendment to the Expulsion Act just passed and saying that senators it doesn't have to it doesn't count for missing sessions if the session was not scheduled 24 hours in advance.
I just can't agree on this. The only reason I made the bill is because I wanted to merge these ranks, because the majority leader or minority leader or whatever you want to put in the rank have never had their own rank in the group. The only reason I made this rank is so that the speaker and the PPT can shout, and so that we can both have this rank that we've had in the past that majority leaders and all that haven't. So I mean, I understand your point, but we're just kind of going back and forth at this point, and I think we can just proceed to voting.
Yeah, I just want to make one final point, like wrap it all. But okay. Wait, I'll let you go first.
No, that was my point.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So I think that I'm going to motion to amend it quickly here in a second, but I think that because in the past speakers and maybe in the future President pro tempores might need to schedule a session, and in the past the speaker has wanted their majority leader to do this, and then they can go before the 24-hour mark. So therefore, congressmen and senators can't get by with not missing, with let's say scheduled 23 hours in advance, not 24 hours, and it won't be counted in missing sessions, and it won't. And then they guess what? They missed like 3 sessions, and guess what? They can still be in Congress because maybe one of them was scheduled 23 hours, and it was not done that properly because majority could have easily shouted it, and that is why I think that would be useful to give them that shoutability, and other people's looking outside the group can be like, okay, well it says leadership, and leaderships are actually in that roles, so it benefits it goes along the term like with the title, almost like title, and also helps presiding officers meet that deadline. And the con is that like, well, we don't need this. I understand that, Walsh, but we can always change it. We can always change it, and we could try this out. It could have been benefited in the past. Let's see if it does in the future. If it doesn't, just pass a bill getting them out of the rank. That's what I'm saying, Walsh. And I motion to introduce an amendment, just add the leadership roles on there, so that majority leaders, the speakers can announce sessions easier, and so people will understand the rules better.
All right.
Does the chair hear a second? Does anyone wish to second the motion? All right, with no second, does anyone request the floor?
Well, I'd like to motion to, because Angela brings up a good point. I think we should I think we should clarify what goes in the congressional leadership rank. Although I disagree with him adding majority and minority leader, or I don't know if he said minority leader, but majority leaders. So I do want a motion to add a section 3, which I've kind of already added here, that clarifies that the Speaker of the House and the President pro tempore are the um, are, are in those congressional leadership ranks. So that's my motion.
Point of order, wasn't that already made previously?
I think that's what we originally made an amendment to, and then you guys were disputing the wording. So if you want to go ahead and add that,
it doesn't matter. We can go. Okay, we can go ahead and vote on the motion.
yeah.
Wait, oh, well, never mind.
So you can call.
So
I just have a pet peeve with this stuff. Okay.
And this is to add speaker and PPT only. So yeah.
I thought we already did that.
We did.
Yeah, that was
we
the
did it, right?
original amendment, and then
Okay.
you
so
guys
go ahead.
debated on whether to amend it to add
I got you.
the specific leaders of both
Yeah.
houses.
All right.
All right. Does anyone else wish to speak on the bill?
I believe so. All right.
All right. The floor is now closed for debate, and we will move on to voting. Mr. Sterling,
Aye.
Mr. Webster votes aye. Mr. Novak, Mr. Novak votes aye. Mr. Woodland, Mr. Woodland, your vote.
He's typing. Just typing.
Mr. Woodland abstains, and Mr. Walsh.
Aye.
Mr. Walsh votes aye with 4 ayes, 1 abstention, and no nays. We will now continue to item 6 of the agenda, HR 1105,
Oh.
the Classified Impersonation Act of 2017, authored by Dr. Gatsby. Does anyone wish to speak on behalf of the bill?
I motion to proceed, Mr. President.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
We'll now proceed to voting on item 4 of the agenda. My bad. I was looking at the wrong chart. Mr. Sterling,
Aye.
Mr. Webster votes aye. Mr. Walsh,
Aye.
Mr. Walsh votes aye. Mr. Woodland,
Aye.
Mr. Woodland votes aye. And Mr. Novak, Novak votes aye on the bill. With 5 yeas, no nays, and no abstentions, the bill passes. We will now move on to item 5, HR 1106, the Crime Time Limit Act of 2017, authored by Mr. Logan. The floor is now open to debate.
Motion to proceed.
Second.
With a second, we will now proceed to voting. Mr. Sterling,
Aye.
Mr. Sterling votes aye. Mr. Webster votes aye. Mr. Walsh,
Abstain.
Mr. Walsh abstains. Mr. Woodland,
Abstain.
Mr. Woodland abstains. Mr. Novak, Mr. Novak, your vote. Mr. Novak votes aye. With 3 ayes, no nays, and 1 abstention.
Did you abstain?
No, I voted yay.
Okay.
With 4 yays and 1 abstention.
Wait, no, wait. I
Yeah.
abstained and then.
And Woodland abstained. Okay. Okay. Now, with 4 ayes, 1 abstention, and 0 nays, the bill passes. We'll move on to item 6 of the agenda, HR 1108, the Congressional Election Voting Act of 2017, authored by Mr. Hamilton. The floor is now open to debate.
I would like to motion to amend this act.
Mr. Walsh, your amendment?
The amendment would be to change Section 3 to state that you can vote for 3 candidates for the House of Representatives.
All right. Do I hear a second on the amendment?
Second.
We will now proceed to a vote on the amendment. Mr. Sterling,
Aye.
Mr. Novak, Mr. Novak votes 8. Mr. Woodland,
He votes 8.
Aye.
Mr. Woodland votes aye. Mr. Walsh,
Aye.
Mr. Walsh votes aye, and I vote aye. The amendment to HR 1108 passes. Does anyone wish to speak on the floor? With no requests, we will now move to voting on HR 1108. Mr. Sterling,
Aye.
Mr. Sterling votes aye. Mr. Webster votes aye. Mr. Walsh,
Aye.
Mr. Walsh votes aye. Mr. Woodland,
Aye.
Mr. Woodland votes aye. Mr. Novak, one second. Okay, sorry, there was something in Discord. With 5 ayes, no nays, no abstentions, the bill passes. We will now vote on item number 7, the nomination of James Reinhardt for United States Attorney. Does anyone wish to? Mr. Walsh, you have the floor.
I want to clarify because I know earlier when we had the government oversight hearing, I voted to oppose Mr. Reinhardt's nomination because of the things he's done in the past and how he's managed himself in office. The one thing I realized after I spoke to Sal and I saw some of the things that he's done as an acting U.S. attorney, or I suppose he was an assistant U.S. attorney, is that he has been working a lot on these on discovery files and stuff for cases, and I think that at this point in time, it would be pretty disastrous for the Department of Justice to be denied a U.S. attorney. I understand that Mr. Reinhardt has a bad past. Obviously, he's been convicted of treason. He's recently, when he was in the CIA, he conducted a witch hunt in which he put people on a watch list that were either slightly left-leaning or knew people that were Korean. I understand all of that. But at this point in time, we have absolutely no other option for the position of U.S. Attorney. So I believe that it is within our best interest to confirm this nominee based on the work he's done so far and his credentials. With that being said, I do want to state that because of this nominee's past, it's going to be important for the Congress and the Senate to ensure that if anything happens while he's in office or if he conducts himself in an unlawful or unethical manner, that Congress should definitely be looking into this, especially this nominee. While he's in office, he should receive lots of attention because of his past. So today I'll be voting in favor of this nomination, and I urge everyone else to vote in favor as well. So I yield.
All right,
Anyone? Mr. Sterling, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Decisions, they are very important. They shape our past and they shape our future. And this man that's being nominated to U.S. Attorney has shown that he's incapable of making smart decisions or decisions that benefit the United States. They just benefit himself. We can see examples of him conducting witch hunts for senators that are left-leaning and Koreans, like Senator Walsh previously stated. He has been convicted of treason, also like Senator Walsh has stated. Those are troubling things, and that's the last thing we need in our next U.S. attorney. We cannot have someone like him in a position like that in our Justice Department. We cannot, as they say, bring bring the set the match in a sorry, I'm misquoting you, missaying this, but we should not be playing with matches in a wood house, because if we're not careful, we'll burn down the house. And frankly, this is one match we cannot control. Like Senator Walsh stated, Congress, he would need to pay a ton of attention to Mr. Ray Hart or Rozzi, whatever they call him. And when we're confirming or denying a nominee, we should not be able to, we don't want to say that. We shouldn't be like, oh, we need to pay much attention to this nominee. We don't want that. We want to be able to, we should pay attention, but we should be confident in our decision to confirm and the president's decision, and not be able to, and not be constantly glaring at our nominee and be worried about what he'll do or what he'll do there. And he had a chance to redeem himself, and he did not redeem himself. What did he do? He did a witch hunt against senators. My fellow senators, this is irresponsible, and we cannot have that our next U.S. attorney. I was remember earlier talking to many senators, and they were disgusted with with former Speaker or former Associate Director Rozzi in his actions in the CIA. That is why I was not surprised when I heard that the committee failed him earlier. And that's why I hope this committee, the Senate, the full Senate, mimics the vote of the committee hearing and fails this nominee. And that is why I can trust that, like Senator Street will vote nay, and Senator Novak, and hopefully Senator Walsh will change his mind and learn that we cannot trust this man once again. He has failed recently in the CIA and fast before. I yield. And motion proceed.
Before that, I'd
we
like
do
to
that-
motion to add Anubis to the record as being partially present to this session, so he can vote on the next two votes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say yay.
Aye.
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 All right. We let the record show that Senator Anubis is now present partially. And we will now vote. Does anyone object to having Attorney General Patterson speak on behalf of the nomination?
I do not.
I object.
How about we do this? I motion to allow the Attorney General to speak on this nomination.
second.
All right. We will now conduct a vote. Senator Sterling.
Nay.
Senator Novak votes aye. Senator Woodland.
Nay.
Senator Woodland votes nay. Senator Walsh.
Aye.
Senator Anubis.
Aye.
With 3 ayes, 2 nays, and I'll go ahead and say 1 abstention for myself. The Attorney General will be allowed to speak.
All right.
Thank you, Senator Webby. I'd just like to point out that I find it difficult for me to understand why Senator Sterling would be so opposed to Mr. Reinhardt's nomination, but then I remember that Mr. Sterling does not have any idea on the troubles of the Department of Justice. I've been having to prosecute every criminal who's gone through the department, which luckily has not been that many because of the inactivity of the Metropolitan Police Department. Now that we have a new chief, though, Mr. Warren's doing a fantastic job fixing the Metropolitan Police Department. It's very active now, and we are getting an extreme number of cases, which is unprecedented. Now, I do not have the time to prosecute them, and quite frankly, it's not my job to prosecute them. The job to prosecute criminals is the U.S. Attorney, whom we do not have one if Mr. Reinhardt's nomination fails. And since no one else is qualified for the U.S. Attorney position, I would have to do all this. Now, if I had to continue to prosecute people, number one, I wouldn't have the time to prosecute all these people because it's way too much work and I have other things to do inside the department. And number two, that would slow down progress because I'm currently in the works of making a new bar, a new COPA, and a new department policy. So if this nomination fails, not only will criminals be loose, the Department of Justice will not be able to continue its progress. So voting against this nomination will be voting to release criminals and slow down the department's progress.
Do you yield?
Yes.
All right, class.
Mr. Sterling, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
Now, I oppose this nominee because he was convicted of treason, and then he had a chance of proving himself, and he failed and conducted a witch hunt against senators like the President pro tempore stated. We cannot have such a person in such a position in the Justice Department. He'll do more harm than good. He had his chance to prove himself, and he didn't. And if we pass him, he'll damage the Justice Department and will define that the Senate will pass criminals and have them in such positions. That's why I urge my fellow colleagues to nay this nominee and fail him. I yield the floor to Senator Woodland.
I didn't know you could do that.
May I speak? May I speak?
I didn't want the floor, so I yield.
I must
Alright.
proceed.
I'd like the floor. I'd like to respond.
Allow.
Mr. Patton,
Yeah.
Mr. Patton, would you like to respond?
Yes.
Would you guys be willing to open the floor to debate?
Yes.
each
Yeah,
other?
let's just let an open debate.
So that way you don't have to keep requesting.
Yeah, so you guys can go back and forth. Just don't talk
Alright.
over each other.
Mr. Sterling, the purpose of prison time is for the accused to serve for their wrongdoings. Now, who are we to decide how long this prison time is? That is for the judge to decide. The judge decided that Mr. Rosie was going to spend time in prison. He spent 8 months in prison. That's more than enough time for him to recompense what he did wrong. In the CIA, he did not conduct a witch hunt. He simply was investigating, which is his job, is to maintain intelligence of this country. So, to say that he would have any biases as a U.S. attorney is unfounded.
All right, I think you can go, Angela.
Can I respond? Oh, okay, good.
It's open.
Well, you said it so nicely about Mr. Rozzi that if I was a citizen and didn't know much about him, I would have been like, "Oh my God, he's a hero." But after being a Senate and hearing Secretary Kasich, I know that is not true. What he did in the CIA was shameful, and that was a chance to redeem himself, and he didn't. So the last thing we should do is pass him and make him U.S. attorney. I respect you, Mr. Attorney General, but I just cannot agree with you on this decision.
Mr. Sterling, if you vote against this nomination, you're going to have a name of the next U.S. attorney on my desk, because there is no one else that's qualified.
Oh,
Mr. Rosie has higher qualifications than I have, and
I say
this is for
Angela
a position that's
first.
lower.
Well, then let's make him president too. While we're at it,
We should.
he has higher.
I'm kind of watching that one.
Mr. Rosie is a great man.
Forgive me for laughing. Okay, this just shows that our one of our
See,
highest.
Senator Sterling
laugh.
has no focus on the floor right now. I don't think anyone should join with him to vote nay on this nomination.
All right.
Well, okay.
All right, I think we should go. I think we
Thinks
should go
it's a
ahead.
joke.
I think we should go ahead.
Motion to proceed.
I
second.
second that.
Dude, you
I
all
request the
yield the
floor.
floor. Hold on, let me swallow my chicken. Okay, Senator Anubis, you have the floor.
Oh, I knew, but
Honestly, after looking at your debate, Angela, I agree with Attorney General Salvatore Patterson, because I think Rosie should be the U.S. attorney. He is highly qualified, and he is more qualified than anyone else in the U.S. right now. Another person I could think of is Martin P. Jones, and he is not up for nomination. So I suggest we vote Rosie as a whole Senate as the next U.S. attorney. I yield the floor.
I request.
Mr. Sterling, you have the floor.
just when I
They
thought
get
we
us
were
will be
proceeding.
brief. I just want to say to Senator Street I respect your opinion, although I may disagree with it. But after if Rosie's hearing this, after he hears us calling him Rosie, or myself calling him Rosie, we'll be conducting the Senate Judiciary Committee investigate him for trying to blackmail one of us or get back at us somehow. So, good luck with that, Senator Street, and good luck to the senators if this passes. So, I yield.
I request.
Motion to proceed.
Second.
Who requested? Oh,
Anubis.
Senator Street, you have the floor.
I disagree because that is childish to try and do that to somebody if he's going to try to blackmail you, and I highly doubt he's going to try to blackmail you. I yield.
I request.
Senator Sterling, you have the floor.
Thank you. Well, as in the past, I've heard for my colleagues, I don't want to name them by name because I don't know if they want me to say this, but they actually have been blackmailed by Rosie or Rosie. I don't know how to pronounce it these days.
Rosie.
Thank you, Mr. President.
One way.
Mr. Reinhardt.
Yeah, well, whatever his name is.
Just call him
But
Bob.
he has, okay.
I mean, it's more like
He has
Rhineland.
blackmailed people. I won't go into specifics because I don't want to. I don't want the people that have been blackmailed to get mad at me for saying this. I don't know if they will get mad at me, but I just want to mention that. So, I think all of our points have been cleared. So I think that we should just proceed before it's 10 o'clock.
I agree.
I yield.
Do I hear a
Motion to-
second
I
to
request.
proceed?
Motion to proceed. Are you kidding?
Can we proceed, please?
I request the floor.
Okay, as the presiding officer, I'm going to close the floor to debate, and we will now proceed to a vote.
All right.
Senator Sterling.
Aye. Oh, nay.
All right.
No.
So Senator Sterling votes aye. Next, Senator.
No, wait. Point of order. Aye.
Senator
Aye.
Webster votes. Senator Webster abstains and recognizes Senator Sterling's nay.
Thank you.
Senator Walsh.
Aye.
Senator Walsh votes aye. Senator Woodland.
Nay.
Senator Woodland votes aye. Oh, nay. I was looking at fucking Walsh's. Senator Novak. Senator Novak, your vote. Senator Novak votes ATO. Senator Street.
Aye.
Senator Street votes aye.
Wow.
With 3 ayes, 2 nays, and 1 abstention,
It passes, but the
the
formula
bill,
fucked up.
the nomination passes and breaks the agenda.
It's probably because Rosie.
We will now continue on to item number 8. Whoever made this is. We will now move on to item 8, the nomination of Dr. Villian, I can't speak English, for Director of Citizens and Immigration Services. The item is now open to debate.
I have motion to proceed.
Do I hear a second? Senator Sterling, you have the floor.
Okay.
This nominee is very experienced, and I yield.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to proceed?
I proceed.
Second.
Second.
Always. Motion to
I hear a
proceed.
second. We will now proceed on voting on item 8. Senator Sterling, your vote.
Aye.
Senator Sterling votes aye. Senator Webster votes aye. Senator Walsh.
Aye.
Senator Walsh votes aye. Senator Woodland.
Aye.
Senator Woodland votes aye. Senator Street.
Aye.
Senator Street votes aye. Senator Novak.
He voted aye in the chat.
Okay. Senator Novak votes aye. Okay. With all items being voted on and all items passing, even
Apparently.
though
He got 6 ayes, but it fails.
and apparently God doesn't want the nomination to pass, but he doesn't count here apparently. We will now move on to closing statements. Does anyone request the floor?
I request.
Shit.
Senator Sterling, you have the floor, and the chair asks that Overseer Leo don't do that again.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. This was a very interesting session. We had good debate. We actually disagreed, which is good because it made things better, as we can see in a Senator Walsh's bill. We amended it and added President Pro Tempore and Speaker of the House.
Oh.
we thought the special session was going to be boring, which it was not. We passed good legislation. We also passed, in my opinion, one of the worst nominees in this USA Senate's history, as far as I know. And I hope that the Senate Judiciary and Oversight Committee, holds him accountable for the actions he will commit. I hope he doesn't. I hope he is what Senator Walsh and Senator Street suggested he was. I hope he actually does his job. He doesn't go in scandals. He doesn't blackmail people. He doesn't get mad at me and try to get me removed from the Senate for saying Rosie instead of Rosie. I hope that doesn't happen, and I pray to God that it doesn't. And I'd like to thank Senator Walsh for hosting the session and barely going in there and getting a quorum, even though it looked like we weren't. And I thank the Senate, and I yield.
Real quickly,
Rosie's slut, bitch. He's Rosie's hoe.
Okay.
I motion to Moose.
hold on, real quick before we move on, I forgot to do something to the bill that I made. I forgot to add the overseer rank. To the bill that I made. So I real quickly, and it would take like 2 seconds. I want to motion to amend this bill, and at the same time, we would vote on the amendment, and we would vote on the passage of the bill as amended.
I don't know if that.
So real quickly, I want to motion to add overseer below 4 and change all these.
Do I hear a second?
No. Second.
Oh.
Do not. Oh, okay.
All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Sure.
Shut up.
Aye.
All right. Okay, we good now.
That sounds like an aye. The
We
amendment.
good, fam.
Oh god, the amendment passes. We will now re-vote on the bill.
No, I motioned
we
that
fixed
we
it?
vote, yeah, I voted that we vote on the amendment, and at the same time we're voting on its
Okay.
passage as amended.
There's also an extra spreadsheet on the
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Sterling.
seeing that you may want to do closing remarks, I take the chair from you as more senior.
Ooh.
I didn't want to, so I'm gonna go.
I'll take it anyways.
Oh, you're a cunt.
Okay, thank you.
Take it out of the chair.
Does anyone want to request the floor?
I request the floor.
Senator Walsh, you have it.
I request.
Well, first I would like to thank Attorney General Patterson for his enthusiasm in wanting to speak, although he's not a senator. And also, I would like to announce that I am filibustering the United States Senate.
Senator Walsh, I unrecognize you.
No.
I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not
Excuse
like
me.
semi.
You cannot take the floor away from me.
Senator Anubis, you have the floor.
Excuse. A point of order.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Sterling. I would
Point of
like to take the floor for everybody.
Point of order, sir. Point of order.
I
yield.
motion to end this.
I motion
I
to
second.
expel Senator Sterling. I second my own.
Aye.
Senator Anubis has the floor.
I yielded, and he motioned to end the session, and I
All right.
Do
seconded.
I hear a second?
Yeah, a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair decides that it passed. This
All right.
session is officially adjourned.
All right.
Gavel.
Yeah, hoes.
Dun, dun.